We have finished the 100 verses on wisdom. Now we will teach His Holiness's A Journey to the West. In A Journey to the West, in the last class, we just taught His Holiness's first teaching at Nechung Monastery, where he bestowed the Bodhisattva vow. During the transmission of the Bodhisattva vow, the transmission has been completed. I think some time ago everyone has already received it many times. So yesterday, here everyone also visualized. Actually, being a Bodhisattva mainly depends on oneself. It is very important to generate bodhicitta yourself, but more importantly, it is important to give rise to bodhicitta. You must truly think in your heart, I want to benefit sentient beings. Let all sentient beings obtain benefit. This is how you can make yourself a bodhisattva. It's not that someone else transmits it to you, and if you have no aspiration yourself, then you may not necessarily obtain the bodhisattva vow. This is very important. Between aspiring bodhicitta and engaging bodhicitta is the best. Although aspiring bodhicitta also has the virtues mentioned above, once engaging bodhicitta arises, even if you are not actually practicing virtue, but are constantly distracted, sleeping, or unconsciously engaging in some neutral activities, including singing and dancing, behaving inappropriately, even when doing these things, the merit of virtue will be like a continuous river, uninterrupted and ever increasing. Therefore, the merit of engaging bodhicitta cannot even be contained by space. Its benefit is truly inconceivable. Between these two kinds of bodhicitta, we mainly practice engaging bodhicitta. This is more important. So, for all of us present here now, all the Dharma we practice, everyone has certainly made aspirations, but mainly what we practice is engaging bodhicitta. So what is bodhicitta, and why does it have such great merit? For example, space has no boundaries, and sentient beings, like space, are also limitless. Bodhicitta mainly takes all sentient beings as its object, wishing them to possess all happiness and be free from all suffering. Because it is an aspiration to benefit so many sentient beings, through reasoning, we can also understand that it can indeed produce such immense merit. Actually, these principles are found in The Way of the Bodhisattva, in the first chapter of The Way of the Bodhisattva. We previously translated one text called Concise Liturgy for the Bodhisattva Vow. This was what His Holiness taught at the Academy before. In it, His Holiness recited from memory the scriptural quotations from The Way of the Bodhisattva. When I translated it, I included them all. But here, His Holiness explains everything to them in plain language, because at that time, with translation, it was impossible to cite every scriptural quotation. If citing scriptural quotations, the translation would take too long and be impossible. Sometimes during translation, when citing scriptural quotations, she couldn't quite handle it. So His Holiness explained everything in plain language. Of course, the bodhicitta that aspires to benefit all beings possesses inconceivable merit and can also be illustrated through stories. Many eons ago, there was a merchant captain called the son of Tsao. Due to the pull of his past karma, he was eventually reborn in the lower realms. In Words of My Perfect Teacher, we have already taught the story of the son of Tsao. This was the karmic result of having kicked his mother's head in a past life. Because of this, he experienced the suffering of an iron wheel spinning on his head with his brains splattering everywhere. At that time, he thought in his heart, sentient beings who experience such suffering are very pitiful. May the suffering of all these beings be borne by me alone, and may their suffering immediately cease. He made such an aspiration. When he generated this thought, when this thought arose, the iron wheel immediately soared into the sky, and he was instantly freed from all that struggle and suffering. He enjoyed delightful happiness as if reborn in the heaven of the 33. His Holiness also taught this in that concise liturgy for the Bodhisattva vow. So what His Holiness taught is not like us preparing lessons in advance and then teaching everyone. It's not like that. It seems that all these teachings are already preserved in His Holiness's mind stream. He simply uses them when needed. So what we have received this time is entirely the wisdom from His Holiness's mind manifesting as words. So you yourselves should also, A Journey to the West. On one hand, this is what I recorded. I don't want to say much, but on the other hand, 30 years ago, His Holiness in the West truly benefited them in this way. At that time, for each class, they paid quite a bit in US dollars, basically 30 to 40 US dollars. 20 or 30 years ago, $30. Just think about it. Every class was like this. So in the later Boston class, I already explained why they charged fees, because without charging fees, it was impossible. I also explained this reasoning, but all the classes charged fees. Actually, I quite admire the charging of fees. For example, those of you listening to the teaching today, each of you, if I had already collected 500 yuan from you, you would definitely listen very attentively. Otherwise, my 500 yuan would be immediately gone in just one class. For example, His Holiness's Hawaii class, how much was charged per person, and the Boston class, how much? Napa Valley, how much? That way you would be very earnest. If not, nowadays many free things, everyone doesn't value them at all, including when we do some public welfare projects. If it's free, no one comes. But if you say this originally costs 1,000 yuan, but this month we're offering it for 500 yuan, everyone signs up. So His Holiness's classes at that time, still many people sought them out in this way. If his aspiration merely to free one class of beings from suffering has such incredible merit, then the bodhicitta that wishes all beings under heaven to be free from all suffering and possess all happiness, that it has immeasurable merit goes without saying. Moreover, suppose someone for billions of years made offerings to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 3 times with the 7 precious substances, food, clothing, and so on. Naturally, their merit would be very great. However, compared to this, if a person even just once in their mind stream generates, that is to say, the virtuous thought, may all beings attain Buddhahood, such a virtuous mind, then their merit far exceeds the former. Just think about it, making offerings to the Buddhas of the 3 times with the 7 precious substances, not to mention for many eons, even in one lifetime, the merit would be very great. For one person, in a brief moment, to wish that all beings attain Buddhahood, everyone, just think about this. This is quite easy, isn't it? We should have this thought genuinely, not because someone else said, in order to generate bodhicitta, think about it. Not like that. From the heart, all beings suffer so much, may they all attain the state of a perfectly enlightened Tathagata. Such a thought, this is called bodhicitta. So everyone should still, why does frequently cultivating bodhicitta have such great merit? The reason is this. The following is, after taking the vow, rejoice in oneself and others. Just now were some instructions within the main practice. The bodhicitta is as precious and rare as a wish-fulfilling jewel. It is particularly precious and difficult to obtain, because the so-called wish-fulfilling jewel, it is said that the wish-fulfilling jewel appeared at the beginning of the eon, but not now, even if there were a wish-fulfilling jewel. It can only solve some of our food and living needs in this lifetime. Beyond that, it is helpless. When a universal monarch appears in the world, it is said that the wish-fulfilling jewel can appear, and this has the potential to rain down clothes, food, and treasures within 1 yojana radius to satisfy sentient beings. But for poor people, it is unobtainable, those without merit. Similarly, if we compare bodhicitta to the wish-fulfilling jewel, bodhicitta is much more significant. Now that each of you have generated such bodhicitta, you should rejoice from the bottom of your hearts and rejoice in it. This year, I think for those of you at the Academy, it should be for many years you have not received previously at our Academy, Dharma friends from 20 or 30 years ago, empowerments from the complete works of His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok. Almost none of them received these. In recent years, there have also been the Nyingtikyabji and the generation of bodhicitta. These should be, if now you do not break your vows and do not change your mind, it should be sufficient. Going forward, if you do not turn into something else, I think this year should be said to be, although after the pandemic the economy declined, for people all over the world this has been the most difficult year. But from an ideological perspective, for us this year should be, for those with aspiration, this should be the most successful year. Unknowingly, we have received so many things. This should be immensely beneficial. In this state of mind, everyone please recite after me once the verses of being joyful for your generation of bodhicitta. The Chinese version, you recite it often, don't you? I haven't recited it much. I recite the Tibetan, so let's recite it slowly together. Think about the meaning of these verses. Today my life has borne its fruit. This human state has now been well achieved. Today I take my birth in Buddha's lineage to become the Buddha's child and heir. The meaning should be, because after generating bodhicitta, one truly becomes a child of the Tathagatas. In every way, I will undertake activities befitting such a rank, and I will refrain from sullying or compromising this exalted and faultless lineage. In the future, as members of the Tathagata family, we should do what befits it. We must never defile with selfishness the Buddha's immaculate and noble lineage. I am like a blind man who has found a precious gem inside a heap of dust, for so it is, by some strange chance, this precious bodhicitta has been born in me. It's like a blind person finding a wish-fulfilling jewel in a heap of ruins. For me, generating bodhicitta is truly very fortunate. So this year I think it was that day, especially Khenpo, they bestowed bodhicitta upon you. The Tulkus also gave you blessings. If it doesn't arise, then you might be one who is obstinate and difficult to transform. Even if 1,000 Buddhas came here, it would be very difficult. So this year, many great masters for your sake. Next, we need to please all sentient beings with the following words. Rejoicing in oneself has been completed. That is to say, may the 8 classes of gods and demons in this world, powerful ghosts and gods, non-human beings and so on, all should have a joyful mind and do your best to help and protect and safeguard us. Why? Because we have made the vow and promise to free you, all these beings, from the suffering of samsara, and to place you in the fruition of Buddhahood. You should take delight in this. In particular, goddess of volcanoes and fire, Madame Pele, who possesses the appearance of burning fire, ruler of the Hawaiian Islands. When we went to the West at that time, I didn't have much feeling toward other women in the West, but regarding this Pele, many times I had a kind of, how should I put it, some feeling. Perhaps my body is relatively sensitive or something. Whether it's local deities or Dharma protectors, I do have some connection with them. This is their local deity. She has many stories to tell. They often speak of things like rainbows appearing for many great masters who visit. She is a very wrathful-looking earth goddess, a very good one. Later, I really wanted to go to Hawaii to make offerings to her. This was my thought. But later, I never had the opportunity. Perhaps she is interested in Tibetan Buddhism. Although she is a goddess of the ocean, His Holiness said at that time, "You and all the other protectors of the land must now be happy and rejoice, and I will do my utmost to benefit you." His Holiness said, "I will also benefit you now because I have generated bodhicitta. You should also do your utmost to dispel obstacles and create favorable conditions for the protection of the Dharma centers. Especially please safeguard those who learn and practice bodhicitta. While thinking in this way, we should recite the verses that please others. We should recite it once. Well, for this, all of us. You can recite it yourselves, because we are not all in the same place. Today, within the sight of all protectors, I summon beings, calling them to Buddhahood, and until that state is reached, may they receive every earthly joy. May gods and demigods and all the rest rejoice. May bodhicitta, precious and sublime, arise where it has not yet arisen, and where it has arisen may it never fail, but rather grow and flourish, ever increasing forever. Now this session is complete, so let us dedicate the merit together. His Holiness's first class has been completed. Upon hearing what His Holiness taught, we were very happy, feeling that these teachings were so precious. Because when His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok bestowed the Bodhisattva vow, he clearly laid out the relevant benefits, the pith instructions, and the steps for the entire ritual. He explained everything very clearly. This special liturgy was easy to perform and the best choice to follow. Previously, when conferring the vow at the academy, it took a very long time. According to Khenpo Kunpal, it seemed to take 2 to 3 hours. Whether we take it ourselves in the future or transmit it to others, we can follow this method. So I also say here, if in the future you bestow the Bodhisattva vow on others and need to do so, actually following His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok's authentic traditional method, you can transmit the vow this way. If you want something a bit more elaborate than this, the concise liturgy for the Bodhisattva vow I translated last year can also be used. The tradition in His Holiness's mind stream, actually we often say we should follow the lineage of our guru. This should be very important. Sometimes if we, as later generations, add too many things, it may not be very good. Especially His Holiness's later liturgies, empowerments, all of these, were designed specifically for us in this particularly busy era. at this time. His methods are very simple and practical. They don't take much time, just like in our fast food culture now. This is a kind of fast food dzogchen. So this is very important for us. After His Holiness transmitted the Bodhisattva vow, during a short break, the audience was eager to raise some questions. Let me tell everyone about these questions. These questions are very simple. I originally didn't want to include them here. But in the beginning, at that time, Westerners' knowledge of Buddhism, because their study and reflection was not like that in the East, so some of their questions were quite simple. But His Holiness, the Venerable Elder, was quite patient and answered them. So later, all of these were kept. After keeping them, we can also take a look. One person asked, "I am still not sure how to take refuge in the three jewels." It had already been explained before. When we explained taking refuge earlier, it was already covered. He said, "Could you please explain further?" Then His Holiness said, "To take refuge in the three jewels, you should think of the Buddha as the sole unsurpassable guide, the Dharma as the sole unsurpassable sublime path, and the Sangha as the sole unsurpassable companion. You should develop such a resolution for taking refuge." This is taking refuge. Actually, for some questioners, this is also a very good pith instruction. Then one person asked, when you talked about engaging bodhicitta, you mentioned the 6 paramitas. Among them, you spoke of generosity, discipline, and patience. These 3 have been explained. What are the other 3? He couldn't even count the 6 paramitas. Then His Holiness told him, the other 3 are diligence, meditative concentration, and wisdom. Diligence is joy in virtue. Meditative concentration is meditation without distraction. Wisdom is directly seeing the state of emptiness. This is how he answered. Another person asked, "What is a vehicle?" What is the difference between the causal vehicle of the Sutrayana and the resultant vehicle of Tantra? His question was slightly better. Then His Holiness said, "Vehicle means a conveyance. That is to say, by relying on a conveyance, sentient beings are taken to a destination. This is called the causal vehicle. The destination that is reached is called the resultant vehicle. In the verse summary of Prajnaparamita, it also says, there is the great vehicle. What is the great vehicle? It is by relying on the vehicle that immeasurable beings enter nirvana and attain Buddhahood. Now this vehicle, from its classification, is like space. It is mainly the emptiness-focused emptiness of the view school and like an immeasurable palace, inside which there are all kinds of precious treasures, like the vehicle of the vast conduct school with dharans and samadhis. By relying on such a vehicle, one can obtain temporary joy and ultimate bliss. This is the supreme vehicle. I think I remember it this way. When the time comes, you can look at the verse summary of Prajnaparamita. At that time, His Holiness cited this scriptural quotation from the verse summary of Prajnaparamita in his answer. Moreover, the Sutrayana vehicle holds that an ordinary being can only become a Buddha through practicing the path, and it maintains that the path and fruition are separate. But the resultant vehicle of Tantra holds that all beings are originally Buddhas. They just need to recognize this anew, and the Tantric vehicle sees the path and fruition as having no distinction. This is the view. Then one person asked, "We are very happy that you came here. It is said that Tibetan areas have suffered unprecedented destruction, especially during a certain period. In one place there were some minor troubles. This is a normal phenomenon we can understand. But Tibetan areas are where the Dharma is so flourishing, a place with blessings. People also have bodhicitta. Why have they suffered so much?" Many people ask this question. Sometimes when going to the West, people often ask this. Well, His Holiness answered it this way. Generally speaking, for bodhisattvas who have generated bodhicitta, being harmed is very rare and precious. For people who have generated bodhicitta, if they are harmed, this is very rare and also worthy of rejoicing. By relying on such adversity, there are many opportunities for practice. Like our teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha, when he was on the causal ground, he also suffered so much harm, which gave him opportunities to give his head, eyes, brains, and marrow to benefit beings. As for suffering some destruction, there are other reasons as well, but now relying on this reasoning is sufficient. His Holiness answered him in a quite skillful way. He already explained to him, in Tibetan areas, many people practice bodhicitta. Why are there so many kinds of the conditions are also not good? We often ask this kind of question, don't we? In that case, for generating bodhicitta, this is very rare and precious. Perhaps for those of us who love worldly, human and celestial happiness, or those who love glory and wealth, wanting everything to be peaceful, not to suffer, that is the highest state. But for Mahayana bodhisattvas, it's not like that. Then one person asked, bodhicitta in the mind stream is a state of mind, right? What impact does it have on the body? This is also too simple. His Holiness said, bodhicitta is certainly a mind of enlightenment. If you have this mind regarding the body, as long as the body is alive, this mind will certainly have an effect on the body. But if one is dead, this mind may not have an effect. I seem to remember that at that time, toward the end, His Holiness didn't really want to answer anymore. His attitude at that time, because they asked such simple questions, His Holiness was also a bit tired. We also felt it would be better not to ask. But they kept asking. Later, it seemed no one asked anymore, and then this class officially ended. Then for the next class, as I mentioned earlier, on our end here, if possible, I will teach everyone again. At that time, everyone should pay attention at 7:30. Pay attention at 7:30, that's all. Other than that, nothing is certain. All right, that's it for today. Let us dedicate the merit together.
Sonandai Tamsa Thobaya Tonani Dharma Pasi Jirgana Jirano Chupai Jupun Solen Droa Droa
Bandangara Badna Sodargye Bandangara Badna Sodargye Bandangara Badna Sodargye